Hello students, welcome to center number 62333 Mvsm. Today we will start our BCom lectures for business communication. Code for the course is MGM 225. So now we'll first talk about our syllabus. The syllabus includes the following things: principles and media of communication, verbal and written communication, effective communication, and human relations. So the syllabus is divided into three parts. Each part has 4 units. So we will start with our unit 1, communication process. In this, first we will talk about the objectives. Objectives about communication process. The objectives are defined, write various definitions of communication in summarized form. Write different steps in communication. Implement the process of business communication in reality. Explain the importance of communication after its use. Prepare a list of different types of communication on that take place amongst the employees of the business organization. Now we go to the introduction part of this communication process. As you know, students, in today's modern world, the information and knowledge is assimilated in large quantity in business organizations. The collected information and knowledge is transmitted through different media. The activity of collection and distribution of information takes place uninterruptedly in business organization. Therefore, in today's world, it is known as information age. In any type of organization, there is a group of employees. The interactions and decision which takes place in that group has a great impact on success of business. Therefore, to get the things done from employees, manager utilizes his communication skills and achieve the objectives of organization. In business communication subject, we are going to study the importance of communication in management, principles, scope, and type of communication. So, the subject description we will talk now. The subject description, the term knowledge includes information, experience, understanding with the help of five others, that is, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. A man feels different sensation of shape, sound, smell, taste, and the touch. He gets the information about the object with the help of it, his intellect, mind, and organs. His intellect formulates the shape of any object as for information passed on by mind to the brains. With help of it, one can feel or understand or acquire knowledge. In this unit, we shall study definitions of communication given by various authors. We shall also study the features, process, elements of communication, importance of communication in business. So now we will talk about the first thing, what is communication? Communication is an art of passing, transmitting information, ideas, opinions, attitudes from one person to another. It can be general definition for the term communication. Different authors define communication differently. Some of the important definitions are given below. Student, please study this, all the definition. This will be very important factors in your exam. Peter Little. Communication is a process by which information is transmitted between individual and or organization so that understanding response results. As per Williams' definition, we can say that administrative communication is the process in which ideas and thoughts are communicated correctly, which results in feedback and appropriate action which in turn result assurance of achieving the objectives of an organization. Then we'll talk about the features of communication. In features of communication, we'll talk after understanding the meaning and definition of communication. Now we will study features of communication. Features of communication include, and it can be explained as, it is two-way process. It is continuous and ongoing process. Minimum two persons are required for the communication. The process can travel to any side. Cooperation and participation. Communication is integrated. Communication involves two-way process. It is not only important to give information, but is also important to receive expected feedback from other person. Communication is ongoing and continuous process. As man is living in the society continuously, he comes in contact with other person. Therefore, it is found that communication is taking place continuous. Communication requires at least two persons. No one can have interpersonal communication that he cannot have communication to himself. For the purpose of communication, at least two persons are required. Communication can travel to any side or any angle. The communication can travel to any side. It means it can travel upward, downwards, horizontal, or it can travel to all the sides at once at time. Therefore, we can say that travel at communication can any side. Communication facilitates to cooperation and participation. One can experience that as through communication, cooperative participation is required from other person also. Communication is integrated process. The persons taking part in communication are communicating collectively. It is found that body, mind, and intellect of communication is engrossed in communication. The communication is not served while communicating is being taking place. It is very important that they pay attention to each other. How communication takes place. We will talk about this now. From the above study, we can say that communication is deliberately processed to achieve particular objectives. In communication, mainly given message to others and obtaining expected feedbacks are two activities. Therefore, communication is treated as two-way process. In the given flowchart, you can see how the information is shared from sender to receiver. A is the sender, B is the receiver, and in between you can see a channel is created in the flowchart. In first activity. In second activity, it is seen that B is the sender and A is the receiver, and the channel is passed through a channel. So this is called two-way process of communication. Steps in communication process to decide the objectives of communication, to decide the message for the communication, selection of appropriate channel, sending the message, understanding the message by the receiver, feedback, deciding objectives of communication. Before communicating, the objectives of communication is to be decided. In this, why and to whom the communication is to be done is to be decided. Deciding the message of communication. After deciding the objectives of communication and to whom it has to be sent, it is decided the actual message of communication, the content of the message should be helpful in achieving the objectives of communication. Selection of correct channel. After deciding the objectives and the content of the message, it is to be decided through which media message is also being decided. Sending the actual message. After the channel is selected, sender sends his message to the receiver. By such selected channel, in this step, the activity of sending actual message is to be powerful. Understanding the message by the receiver. The receiver will understand meaning of message after it is received to him from the sender for the purpose of understanding the receiving message. Now we'll go to elements of communication. Elements of communication. Now we are going to study what are the various elements that are taking active part in process of communication. Communicator or sender. The person, organization who sends message to other person, organization is known as communicator or sender. Communicate or receiver. The person, organization to whom the sender sends the message is known as communicate or receiver. Receiver, after receiving the message, interprets it and then according to the message given responses. He also selects appropriate message and medium to send the responses. At this point, he becomes the receiver. Message. In this process of communication, the information, ideas, or feelings which are transmitted by the sender to receiver is known as message. Message is very important. In process of communication, in absence of message, communication will not take place. The success of communication depends upon how effectively the message is sent by the sender. Medium or channel. A channel refers to the route through which message travels to the receiver. In it is the medium through which message passes on from sender to receiver. In today's world, different types of channels and that too advanced ones are available. Example, personal meetings, letter, telegram, telephones. Noise and environment, the other factors. In process of communication, one more important factor affecting to the communication is environment. While communicating to the receiver, the sender should consider the social and cultural education status, traditions, customs, etc. Response and feedback. Each and every communication is done with definite objectives. When the sender gets response to his message from the receiver, it is known as feedback. The feedback can be given through various ways. It can be in form of conversation, talking, direct actions, writing silence, changing facial expression, making changes in body language or touch, etc. The feedback can be two types. It will be a positive feedback or negative feedback. Now we'll go to the next point, which is what is meant by communication from business point of view. Students, we have studied previously the meanings, definition, features, and process of elements of communication. Now we are going to study what is importance of communication from business point of view and how much it is important in today's business. In everybody's life, communication is important. In field of business, it has got special importance. The activity takes place in business are different types of in nature. The different activities are taking policy decision on production, sales, purchase, learning different jobs, work, activity, getting things done from other. But any of this activity cannot be completed without communication. Communication takes place in each and every activity. In field of business, at management level, the problem of communication has become an issue of concern. Therefore, it is very important to pay proper attention to it. Hence, the manager has to perform the main functions of taking proper care, growing the communication management. So, students, now go through this flowchart. Figure number 1.2, level of management. So board of director, managing director, it comes in top level of management. Departmental heads, supervisors comes in middle level management. Staff and other workers comes in lower level management. Different functions are carried out on these three levels of management. The objectives of business are achieved only after making effective communication by person at every level. In other words, we can say that the communication doesn't prove effective. It creates various hurdles in achieving targets, objectives of business. Communication is an art of coordinating various activities, transactions of business, and it is essence of the management. It is important to have good communication, the business organization to have moral for the workers. The success of business can be measured from how skillfully the manager passes the message. Therefore, we can say management is also one type of communication. Now, we will study the objectives of communication. In objectives of communication, following parts are very important. Giving and receiving the information, giving and taking the advice, giving and receiving orders, giving and receiving instructions, imparting educations, giving warning, increasing moral, motivation, creating consensus. In giving, receiving the information about many things is to be obtained and to be issued, given to others in business. Example, the information such as product, articles, raw materials, market competition, governmental acts, rules and regulations, mental status of the investors, source of capital is very important. Giving and taking advice. Taking or giving advice also can be the objectives of the communication. In the management, while managing the organization, the management gives instructions or advice so that the order is obeyed strictly. Such functions can be performed through communication. Many times while taking decision about any particular field, the management have to take expertise, guidance, or advice, giving and receiving orders. There can be objective, the communication in the management, to give or to receive the orders. The management issues necessary instructions and orders to the juniors as they have things from others. At the same time, under special circumstances, the juniors have take ask for the appropriate orders and their seniors, giving and receiving the instructions. In today's business, the importance is given to the work's participation in management. Therefore, the management, before taking any type of decision, invites valuable suggestions from the workers about particular subject. Sometimes the receiver suggestions, the appropriate suitable suggestion is also accepted. In such notices, suggestions are collected through communication, training, and counseling. The fifth part. The another objective of communication can be given training from the others to the staff of the organization to make work more efficient, skillful. The training is given by the organization. Such training is nothing but required education to the staff. Then the next one will say is giving warning. If the staff member is not working as per the discipline or according to the rules and regulation, then he should be warned or instructed or a memo is to be issued to him. Such a memo is fear is created in mind of the staff that the member committing mistake, action or fine removal from the job will not take against it. Increasing rising morale. While managing the business, all the staff members should work in the same direction. For this, the manager tries to increase the morale of the staff members through the communication. Various ways methods are experimented to raise the morale. Example, appreciated good work, motivation or motivate. One of the important functions of the management is to motivate the workers for achieving the objectives of the organization and to get work done from them. Even if the organization is good reputed and if all facilities are provided to the workers, creating consensus, arriving at consensus. The communication is utilized for the above objectives. Therefore, the organization objectives can be achieved. The workers get satisfaction overall well-being of all concerned people can be achieved. Importance of communication in business. Very important topic in this chapter. Let's focus on this, students. Importance of communication in business. The sub-points are the need of large-scale business, the complexity of business functioning, the complex functioning of the business, competition in business, pressure of unions, increase the spirit of cooperation and understanding. Need of large-scale business. After industrial revolution, the business organization got exploration. Due to the volume and the size of business increase, the need was spread to run the business on large scale. The size of capital increased. Need of more of capital was spread. It was necessary from the functions activities such as purchasing latest advanced big machinery producing in large scale. Therefore, in such changing circumstances, the communication is inevitable to perform the various functions. The complex functioning of the business. In modern world, the functioning of the business has become various complex. Due to business expansion, increasing the activities of business, various departments are to be created in business. For example, purchase department, production department, stores department, account department. Competition in business. Today's competition prevails in every business. The competition is more acute, cutthroat if you are not successful and do not serve well. The existence of the business will come in danger. Therefore, it is found out that even every business organization is struggling for existence. Pressure from unions. We find nowadays that the person from all fields have been united as a result of it. Find that trade unions, consumers, organization, investor forums, trade association came into being. As all of these unions are related to business, it has pressure impact on businesses. Developing increasing sense of cooperation. The staff of business organizations come from different backgrounds. The management have to get work done from this varied staff. To get work done, there should be sense of understanding and cooperation in mind of a worker who is performing or doing the work. Then the next comes interaction and discussion amongst employees of the business organization. In the first part of this unit, we have studied the importance of communication in business. Now this is the second part. We are going to see the interactions and discussions amongst the employees of the business organizations. In this part, we will study what is meant by interpersonal communications, what are the types of such communications, how such communication process takes place. Interpersonal communication. Group of persons are found in every organization. The person in such groups communicate with each other continuously. There are various subjects in communication, various incident subjects such as working in an organization, working style of the senior, work culture and environment, salaries and wages, etc. are discussed by them. Understanding. The concept of understanding is important in interpersonal communication. In this concept, it is assumed the strength and the capacity of understanding the subject through the organs, resulting in feeling of listening and deeper knowledge of the subject. Training and education. In business communication, the objectives of communication be to educate the employees, normally by appointing the employees. Its school, college level education is considered, but the training is given to him so that he can perform the job in the best possible manner for which he is appointed. Such training is provided at three levels. Let's see the three levels of the training. First one is managerial level. The second one is employee level, and third one is in relation to public relations. Now we'll talk about the motivation. The task of giving inspiration to the employees is to be performed by the managers. In, in an organization, the senior officials, through the communications and skillfully tries to persuade them due to work. There are two types of motivation: financial, monetary, or non-financial others. In the second method, the motivation is done by considering the benefits other than the financial incentives. It is it mainly includes taking into consideration the individual importance of the employee by realizing their importance to the junior, providing guidance instead of issuing orders, keeping good ideas before the employees. Now we'll talk about the language. The very important factor in communication is considered as the language. There is a language at other side of interpersonal communication. Language is one of the important tool of communication. The words have such a strong power that with the help of its use, even enemy can become a friend and friend can become an enemy. Therefore, by identifying its power, proper words should be used in communication. In communication, information is transmitted, but it is expected that the receiver should receive it happily and should give intended favorable response to the message. Therefore, the language has great importance in communication. If the effective language is used, the oral or written interpersonal communication, then the audience and the reader will be impressed and will give expect response. While using language in oral communication, our pronunciation and sound attracts the audience. Therefore, correct and effective language should be used in oral communication. In communication, simple words should be used. While communicating, educational qualification of the receiver should be considered. The words having correct definition meaning should be used. There should be small sentences. The communication should be as short and as brief as possible. Important points to be jotted down before the communication, which will help you explain it. While considering the both sides of communication, on one hand, psychological and scientific understanding, education and motivation, on the other hand, language is studied in interpersonal communication. Apart from these two sides, the sensitivity of listening and hints. The habit of listening. Listening is one of the important component in the skill process of communication. In one survey, it is found that around 70% of the time, personal connected related to communication is to spend on listening. From this statement, we will come to know the importance of listening. In communication, listening habit is one of the important habits helping the communication. Stopping to talk means listening. Many times, oral communication is to be done in interpersonal communication. At such time, it is very important to listen the message which is sent by the other party. Therefore, there should be a listening habit amongst between related persons. There is no habit of proper listening can be incorrect, wrongly, faulty communication. Example, if worker comes late for the job, the senior charges that. The concern goes to the sub seniors and tries to explain the reason for late coming. In such explanation, not listened by the senior, then some of there can be injustice or part of it. From this example, It can be known as the habit of listening is very important. Listening has two types, hearing, listening, or paying attention. Following are the benefits of good listening. The person having good listening habits can take correct decision because ample of information is gathered with him. The person having good listening skills can save time because he learns more in given period of time. It helps to understand how communication is received by the receiver. The person having good listening habits can stimulate encourage to other person for speaking. Due to good listening habit, many understanding can be minimized. Non-verbal communication. As like interpersonal communication, the good listening habit is important, and also non-verbal communication. The message is given without use of words. Such communication is known as non-verbal communication. The non-verbal communication can be following types: body language, facial expression, silent, the communication made through codes, signs, figures, diagrams. Now we will see the types of non-verbal communication. Body language. Even the communication can take place through body movements. The body language can be used to support the main communication. Sometimes it can be also used to give main message. Sometimes words become less effective or they fall short or become difficult to make use of words. Or if done not verbal communication under such circumstances. Facial expression. It is said that the face is the mirror of the person. All the feelings of a person, such as unhappiness, happiness, anger, love, etc., are reflected on the face. When face having reflection or hatred, surprise, satisfaction, etc., is seen, one can understand what type of thoughts are going in the mind of such person. Therefore, we can say that facial expression are reflection of feeling in the mind. At words are not used in such types of communication. It is non-verbal communication. Silence. Keeping silence is considered somewhat different type of communication. Many times since speaker louder than words, listen, as words are not used in silence, it is known as non-verbal communication. With the help of silence, following can be communicated. Conveying concern, showing disinterest, expressing unhappiness, happiness, or anger, expressing differences of opinion, expressing disliking, expressing non-acceptance. Signs, codes, and pictures are very important in non-verbal communication. Now we'll study the brief in these three modes of communication. Signs. In the past, before an invention of language, signs were used for communication. Even after the invention of the language, some of the particular fields, signs are used for communication, mainly in field of traffic. Then codes. Specific signs are also particularly used in particular fields. The use of smoke is read in array of specific objectives. In oceanic traffic with help of lightning houses, features. The features are used to make more clear communication which made with the help of words. In the management, various functions such as given orders, guidance, notices, suggestions, instructions, planning up to be performed while getting work done through the employee. The employment, the help of communication is taken for this purpose. At the same time, these are the reactions from the employees about orders, notices, and guidance, which are given to them. Such reactions are conveyed by employee to the seniors through communication to achieve the organization objectives. Various department, regional officers gather together and discuss about the functions to be performed, and the efforts are made to establish proper coordination among departments. The help of communication is taken for for this purpose. In short, communication is one of the important tools in hands of mind. With the help of this tool, the management tries to achieve organization objectives. For this, the management has to use their skill by making use of communication. If communication becomes ineffective, achieving objectives also become impossible. Therefore, managers should be very skillful about the communication. So, students, this was unique one about the communication process. So, this is the start of the topic about the communication. We will learn about more about communication in unit 2. Thank you. This is end of your lecture 1.